Greetings and salutations, humans. This is your host, Hootenbot. We are doing something a little bit special for episode 4 of the Dogfight series. We have got the reigning champion, Oboro. She is a void attack-based champion from the Shadowkin, and we have a little bit of a difference now from the previous video, in that Oboro now has a blessing, and she did not have a blessing on the previous run where she competed against Sachi, but she will be competing against someone who has a blessing in this video, which is a fan favorite from the previous 2 videos, which is Alika. And I'm going to go over both their stats for you, and we're going to see which of these 2 champions is going to be able to outdamage the other. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's go into skills. First, let's start with blessings. We went with Cruelty. As you can see, it is a 2-star blessing. Decreases target defense by 1% per hit, up to 10% for champions, up to 5% for bosses, and gives Oboro an additional 400 attack, which is exactly what you want for your attack-based champions. Masteries for Oboro, I've got her going down to War Master, and as you can see, I picked up some accuracy. I also went with Master Hexer, and I went with Sniper. And let's look at her total. Let's look at her total stats. Oboro's attack is 5,216. She has 224 speed. She has 72% crit rate. You're going to see why that doesn't matter here in just a moment. And her crit damage is 215%. Her accuracy is currently at 229. Let's look at her skills. She has a aura, 33% attack in all dungeons, which is exactly what you want to have for an attack-based champion. She has a passive, places Revive on Death buff on this champion for 3 turns whenever they receive a Veil or a Perfect Veil buff. Her A3 places a 30% increased crit rate buff and a 30% increased crit damage buff on this champion for 2 turns, and then attacks 1 enemy. Places a Perfect Veil buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack is critical. That's why I'm running Oboro with less than 100% crit rate. Her A3 fixes that problem. I was able to prioritize more attack and more crit damage in this particular champion. Her A2, Misty Smoke, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. The second hit has a 75% chance, books up to 100, of transferring all debuffs from this champion to the target. The first hit has a 100% chance, when booked, of stealing all buffs from the target when attacking under a Veil or a Perfect Veil. Then her A1 attacks 1 enemy, has a 40% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense buff for 2 turns. Will attack all enemies instead if the target is under 4 or more debuffs. Now let's go in and look at Alika, who is also another one of my favorite epics. I love Alika. I run her all over the place. And if y'all look at some of the earlier videos in this series, you can see there was a lot of surprise that Alika was beat out by Talia. I got to admit, it surprised me too. I did not expect it. And I did some more runs after that video, and Alika came out on top every time. However, it simply did not matter. Alika had her chance and she lost, but she's back for a rematch, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at her masteries. I've got Alika going down to Helm Smasher, and I've got her going down to Master Hexer. The fact of the matter is, she doesn't need it, but that's just what I did. And I just picked up accuracy wherever I could. Alika's total stats. Her attack is 4,700. Her speed is 215. She has 103% crit rate. She has 241% crit damage and 240 accuracy. Let's look at her skills. We have a blessing. Alika does not have an aura. I went with Crushing Rend for Alika. Each round, a number of this champion's hits will ignore a percentage of the target's defense. The percentage of ignored defense depends on the level of the target, And as you can see, she has a 3-star blessing. So the first hit will ignore a percentage of the target's defense. Will ignore 1% defense every 50 levels. She gets an extra 400 attack. And then for the 3rd star, the first hit each round will ignore a percentage of the target's defense. Will ignore 1% for every 40 levels. So it's just, as you can see, it just stacks up. Let's look at her passive. Revives this champion with 75% hit points when killed. Only available when Sakara is on the same team and alive. Doesn't matter. Alika's A3. Attacks all enemies. Has a 75% chance of increasing the cooldowns of enemy skills by 1 turn. Books up to 100%. Her A2. Attacks 1 enemy. Will ignore 50% of the target's defense if their max HP is higher than this champion's max HP, which pretty much always happens because Alika has very low HP. Then her A1, Gape Shot, attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of placing an extra hit when booked. This hit is always critical. Why that second sentence is in there is stupid, because you want to have your Alika critting 100% of the time, because that is what she does. She just brings in a massive amount of pain. Let's get into it and let's see who is going to be able to come out on top on this dogfight. Will Oboro retain her crown, or will Alika be able to avenge her previous loss and come out in the head? Let's look and see. We're going to do Dragon 20. And one of the reasons I'm doing Dragon 20, 1, I don't want this video to take forever. 2nd, since Alika is Force Affinity, she will have a strong affinity advantage against this particular dungeon, and that will help compensate for the fact that Oboro, in addition to being Void, also has an attack aura. So let's hop on in and see what happens. Go ahead and speed everybody up. While you go in for our defense down. Let's use Oboro's A3. We will hit this Bombardier here on the right-hand side. Let's slow this down. 75,000 damage. That is not bad at all. That is a solid smack. Let's go ahead and speed things back up. Let's extend the duration of those debuffs, shall we? Now we will use Oboro's A2. Just a reminder, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. The second hit has the chance of transferring debuffs. There's no debuffs, and the enemy has no buffs on them currently. So this is going to be pure damage. Let's hit this Apothecary here in the middle. We'll call it 62k. Speed things back up. Now we'll use Oboro's A1. Let's hit this Horden right here. Let's slow this down. Her A1 is 55k. So good, solid numbers. Let's go ahead and speed this thing up. We're going to put on auto, and we will see what the total damage is at the end of the run. Okay, we are at the end. So Oboro came in with We're going to call this 1.5 million damage. This here's just a hair under. And we're just going to round this thing up. And we are going to pull up Alika, and we are going to see how she does in her run. Okay, ladies and gents, here we are. So as you can see, we got Apothecary in the lead now. We have got Thylesia still for the defense down. Frozen Banshee for the win condition. We've got Reliquary Tender just in case someone falls over. And we have got Alika. Let's go in and see what happens, shall we? Okay, so let's speed everybody up. Defense down. Let's open up with Alika's A3. Slow this down. We will hit this Bombardier on the right hand side. So about 58k around the board. So those are just, that was a good solid smack, as y'all are able to see. Let's go ahead and speed things up. Let's extend the duration of our debuffs. Okay, so now let's use Alika's A2. Let's go ahead and open up with Alika's A2. We will hit this Horden here in the middle. 108k. That was a good solid smack. Let's go ahead and speed things back up. Next up will be the A1, and we will see how hard that smacks. So let's go ahead and slow this down. Her A1. Let's hit the Apothecary here in the middle. Again, this has a 50% chance of hitting twice. We only got the one proc, so the A1, what was that, 43k? So what we'll call it. Okay, let's go ahead and speed this thing up, and let's see what the total damage is at the end of the run. Will Oboro retain her crown, or will Alika be able to come in and avenge her defeat at the hands of Talia? And I thought about doing a rematch between Talia and Alika, but to be honest with you, since Alika has a blessing and Talia doesn't, it just simply would not be fair. But I'm going to be quiet, and let's see how this thing goes. Okay, and here we are, and ladies and gentlemen, we have an upset. Alika, she comes in at 1.67 million damage. She outdamaged Oboro by over 1.5 million. That is insane. I'll be completely honest with y'all. I fully expected Oboro to come in and run away with this thing. She has higher base stats. She has a self-cleanse. She has a kit that just runs for days. But here on this particular run, I mean, as you can see it, the numbers are right here. Alika has come back. She has avenged herself. She has taken the crown, ladies and gentlemen. So what that means is we have an upset. We have a major upset, and I've got to admit, I am surprised. I'm completely surprised. Let me know down in the comments, what were you expecting? Did you expect Oboro to come out in the lead like I did, or did you think that Alika was going to pull this thing out? And also, let me know what you think about the blessings. Let me know down in the comment section below. I want to hear what y'all have to say. Y'all, this is Putinbot. I hope that you enjoyed this content. If you did, give me a like, drop a subscribe on the channel if you haven't already, and I will see y'all on the next installment of Raid Shadow Legends Dogfight.